Okay, this video is to Evans, Greeley, Weld County, state of Colorado. I'll try to make it short and to the point. This system of law that you use, statutes, codes, regulations, is all bankruptcy. It's commerce. It's a business, corporation owned by international bankers. We did not have this system of law, which is Uniform Commercial Code, until after the bankruptcy. There was two bankruptcies in this country. 1871, when we became a corporation owned by international bankers, and also in 1933, when we ran out of assets, and the only asset that America has right now is the labors of the people, which is slavery, pretty much. When you have to pay federal income tax, you're a slave. So 1793, at the Revolution, John Jay, Supreme Court judge, 1793, said, "At the Revolution, sovereignty devolved on the people, and they are truly the sovereigns of the country." So the way America was founded, we were sovereign. We were the king. Government could not tell us what to do. But what happened is, when we became bankrupt in 1871, the international bankers, which are the ones that we broke away from at the Revolution, when Benjamin Franklin said probably the prime cause for the revolution is that King George III would not allow the colonies to an honest money system. So it was a fake money system that was forcing us to borrow money with interest added on, which causes unemployment, and which creates debt that can never be paid back because the interest was never paid, was never created. So we were sovereign at the founding of the country. When we became bankrupt in 1871 and then in 1933, what they needed was, since we were sovereign, they needed a signature, an agreement, and a contract for the people to give up their sovereignty and enter into a new realm of law, a new realm of government, which is the one we have today. It's a bankrupted government. We're $17 trillion in debt. Can never pay it back. Never, ever, ever. If anybody who studies this can see, and it's pretty obvious, and once you understand the inner workings of this system, the debt can never be paid back. Therefore, it's bankrupted. The interest was never created, so the debt keeps piling up and up and up and up. The only way the system can work is if the banks lend out more money, which is all controlled by the Federal Reserve, because they're all members of the FDIC. So my relation to this government is, I have returned back to the way our country was founded, where we were free. We were not subject to anyone. Nobody was our king because we were the king. I'm the king, okay? Just like our founders were. That's the way they made the government. So I have rescinded my contracts with the birth certificate and social security card, which were created for the purpose of the United States borrowing more money to keep our government going, to fund these programs that take care of the people. So what I've done is I've rescinded those contracts. I'm living in a nation of bankrupted people that can't understand this simple little, it's so simple. You know, I've had the lady at Garden City, I think her name's Cheryl, she said, "Why don't you move out, go to another country?" Well, you've contracted out of our country. The whole nation is in contract out of the law of the land, and they're now entering into the law of the sea under the bankruptcy of the international bankers through their birth certificate and social security card. And what I'm finding is that bankrupted people just can't figure it out. All they want to do is fill their tummies. They want a full stomach. They want security, which this Babylonian system offers them through the birth certificate and social security card. They're like little children. They can't take care of themselves. It's just like the feudal system where the king owns all the land and then you pay a certain amount to the king to use his land. That's why you have to pay taxes on your land, your income, because you don't own anything. You've given up your right to own anything. You don't own it. If you have to pay taxes on it, you do not own it. You don't own your car because the state, the law, which is the king, which is Babylon, because we're bankrupted to them and they have the system of codes, regulations, and statutes. I'm trying to make this simple. So that's what this country is subject to. They're subject to Babylon. The inhabitants were made drunk because you guys are drunk. You guys are all drunk. You can't see the truth. You don't know the truth. You don't know nothing. The only thing you know is to follow orders, obey the commands of your superior, which all comes from the banks and corporations. That's where you get all of your influence. The city council members are all in bed with the banks and corporations. They don't care about sovereignty. They don't care about the people. They're influenced by the banks and corporations, which give this country their needs. Banks, because they lend money so people can buy houses. This is the church. This is the new church of America, is the bank. And the counterfeited money are idols. This is their God. They worship idols because that's where they get their needs. And this whole system of law is designed to give value to the fiat currency, this fake money, these idols of Babylon. And this whole country is centered around the idols of Babylon because we're bankrupted to the international bankers, which lend this country money, fiat currency, fake money, and then we promise to pay it back through our birth certificate and social security card. That we give this fiat currency value with our labors. The banks create the money out of nothing. They lend it to us, and then when we contract through the birth certificate and social security card, we are giving up our sovereignty. We become a servant to the lender, and we become responsible for the borrowing of the United States corporation on a personal level, because we were sovereign. That's why they need a contract. That's why they need these instruments, so that we can give up our sovereignty and enter into their jurisdiction. Now, the Bible says that the laws were made to punish the unrighteous. All this system of law, statutes, codes, regulations, are all for the unrighteous. This whole system of money is for the unrighteous. As long as we have the dollar, which is debt, then we are bankrupted, we're debtors, and we're a slave to the lender. And this whole system of law is centered around this fake money. But I'm going to imagine that a lot of government employees and people are not going to care what I say. They're not going to look into what I have to say, because they simply want security. Benjamin Franklin said, "He who gives up essential liberty for security deserves neither liberty nor security." Our forefathers also said, I think it was Thomas Jefferson said, "A timid man prefers the calm of despotism, which is dictatorship, over the tempestuous sea of liberty." As you could see through my videos and my life, and all the government knows me, that I am going through a tempestuous sea of liberty. They've got me enslaved. Bankrupted people cannot acknowledge, they can't acknowledge a free man. because they don't understand, because they're drunk. They simply want a paycheck, and that's all they care about. They're like a rat. They're like a beast. They do what everyone else does. Oh, well, everyone else gets a birth certificate. Everybody else does it. That must be the way to do it. That's why the Bible calls him a beast. The Bible says, I will show you the mystery of the woman and the beast that carries her. We are carrying this Babylonian system of idols of Babylon, which is fiat currency issued by Babylon, which is the banks and corporations, all controlled by the Federal Reserve, controlled by elite few. Thomas Jefferson said, the challenge is today, as it has been throughout history, whether we will be allowed to govern ourselves or be ruled by a small elite. It's not that hard, people. If you just take your mind off of your paycheck, take your mind off of your job, and focus on what is true. You know, George Washington called this money system a fraud. He said, if in the pursuit of the means, in other words, if we pursue trying to fund government, we happen to stumble again upon unfunded paper money or any other species of fraud, it will enter the body of politics like spirit liquors enter the human body, destroying the vitals. The vitals of this country are liberty, and our liberty is being destroyed. And even Edward Mandell House admitted that. He said to Woodrow Wilson in 1913 at the passage of the Federal Reserve Act, he said, very soon every American will be required to register the biological property. That happened in 1933 when we became bankrupt. He also said in that same quote that in those papers that I handed Officer Alm, that every American will be a contributor to this fraud that we will call social insurance, because we were not given the full details. A fraud, the definition of a fraud is when you use deception to take somebody's rights and property, and that's what they've done. They did not tell us the truth. When your child is born, the doctor will come and ask you to fill out forms, and they will use sorcery and witchcraft. If you ever ask, they'll repeat the law, which says, Colorado Revised Statute 25-2-112 says, a certificate of birth for every live birth which occurs in this state shall be filed with the state registrar. This is sorcery because it doesn't say you have to fill it out. It simply says that a certificate of birth must be filed. This is their law. This is the law of bankruptcy. And bankrupted people are easily deceived, and so they sign this. And you can watch my other video, Ron at Vital Statistics, Denver, Colorado, birth certificate contract, I believe is what the title of the video is, where I ask him, where does it say we have to fill it out? And every time I asked him, he said, a certificate of birth for every live birth which occurs in this state must be filed with the state registrar. And finally, I had to ask him the question in a different way. I said, Ron, will I be lying if I said you didn't have to fill it out? And he said, yeah, Dwayne, you're right. You don't have to fill it out. There's no birth certificate police, and your child won't be able to go to public schools. And, you know, the first thing I'm thinking is, I don't care that my child would ever go to this state-run, state-operated, brainwashing school that does not teach you the truth about money, doesn't teach you the truth about the Federal Reserve and how our country was founded, how we were sovereign, and how our money system works. John Adams said, all perplexity, distress, and confusion which arise in America are not from defects of the Constitution or Confederation, but in a downright ignorance of the nature of coin and its circulation. Clear up the money issue, and all seemingly unrelated problems will simply vanish. So the money system is the root cause of all the problems in this country, unemployment. I have to end the video because it's getting a little too long.